Nobody I know still farms Grim Batol, quite possibly because it's been nerfed over the years, or perhaps there are more efficient farms nowadays. But one of the interesting things that I found out while revisiting this dungeon on a level 100 druid was that the mobs were green to me. And you know what that means? Free XP. Now, I know this might not work in Shadowlands. I'm really gonna have to do some testing with this stuff eventually, but I figure screw it. The PTR got pushed back, the expansion got pushed back. Let's do this video and get it out there, and maybe somebody might be interested.
I'm not stopping till we're exalted, sitting up with fucking millions. I ain't halted. I'm quick to pick it up and kill him. I take what he left off and continue to grill him. Electrified, I'm turning up the wattage. I'm a stalker with a machete outside your cottage. Once you're spotted and dotted, you're dropping and rotting. Me and X are just the opposite of Batman and Robin.
So when I first started this farm, I was grouping things up into small groups because I really didn't know if I could tank or solo this stuff. For reference, this is why I wasn't doing the Firelands run for skinning Savage Leather, even though I could technically do it and get way more Savage Leather while pushing the instance lockout. It took a while at level 100, and while the mobs in Grim Batol are level 90, the mobs in Firelands are 85 plus, and for some reason they hit quite a bit harder. The turtles do a little knockback, there's fears if you end up pulling certain mobs, and the lava actually really fucking hurts. And I really felt like if I was gonna do Firelands, I should just do it on my max level tune. It's faster and more efficient. Plus, I wasn't really getting anything else, and my intention wasn't just farming Savage Leather. The interesting thing though, in Grim Batol is that none of the bosses drop any loot. So really, what can we salvage from all this? Well, the first thing was that I needed to level skinning for Cataclysm, and this made it quite easy to do. Plus, on this tune that I'm leveling, I'm experimenting with tailoring and skinning, which if you have tailoring, you get the buff from Wrath of the Lich King that allows you to loot extra cloth off all the mobs. So that's the bonus, really. I quickly realized that I could pull as many mobs as I needed to, no matter what. And so I pulled more and more, and sometimes even popped a few cooldowns just to be on the safe side. But I realized that I wasn't getting as much leather or cloth as I was by pulling smaller groups. Why is this? Well, the mobs tether in this dungeon, meaning they'll reset the further down the instance you go as you're pulling them. So back to smaller groups. You'll find that there's still quite a bit of stuff to gather by running this. The elemental mobs drop volatiles, life, air, earth, fire, and the skinning gives you a mix of Savage Leather and Blackened Dragon Scales. The Blackened Dragon Scales, by the way, don't sell that often from what I've found, so I wouldn't count on these being too profitable. And there's really not that much raw gold to be looted in these dungeons anymore either. But there were a variety of greens that I could try to auction off. Or disenchant, as the value of the disenchanted Cataclysm greens is sometimes worth way more than just straight up vendoring it. And there's also the cloth that I looted. But the real key here was the XP. I didn't count on that. I had pretty much knocked out a level in 30 minutes, and yeah, I had rested XP. But I was farming for around the same gold per hour that I would normally get on a max level tune. Some of the stuff here in Loot Appraiser is a bit different because I'm running it on market value, and I think Savage Leather was actually selling for a little bit more on my server. Not that that actually matters, but either way, this was really kind of interesting to me. And because Shadowlands is so close, I decided to just kind of leave this one here and move on, because it was probably going to change in a few weeks. But now I'm wondering, with the level squish coming, would this be a viable way to level? Would leveling by farming be a thing? Is soloing dungeons that may potentially be green a thing? These are some of the things that I maybe hope to explore in Shadowlands as well. I'd like to update a bunch of the runs and farms I did in Battle for Azeroth to get my Brutosaur mount, so I may actually experiment with this. If you're looking for alternatives or some kind of outlandish thing to try out, think about things like this when you're leveling and what kind of interesting niche runs you could do to make a little bit of gold on the side while you're pushing a few levels. It can't hurt.